to the average individual, whether it's a Rastaman or the average individual who's going to be using it for personal use, is seemingly being ignored, whilst the medical side, which is the side that the government is going to make money from, is being given all the attention. I don't know, you're on the medical board, but have you ever heard anything from the Minister of Ecclesiastic or his ministry in regards to cannabis? That's one question. And another question, which is in line with that, is, as I've been asking earlier on, but I think since you're on the board, maybe you might have an idea of where we are with this part. I know that there is no Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs on Nevis. So in relation to those things, is there an arm on Nevis that deals with that aspect, or whatever is going to be done in Nevis in relation to what is under the purview of the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs, that the Nevisians would have to go to St. Kitts to get that part sorted out?
I can tell you, I don't know. I really don't know. Because I say, I don't know where Nevis stands in relation to the whole cannabis industry. There's nothing to stop a company from Nevis to go over to St. Kitts and register your company. It can be done. But Nevis has autonomy when it comes to agriculture. So, I mean, Banky, you know that. Nevis decides what happens to agriculture. So Nevis must state their position when it comes to how they're going to handle cannabis in Nevis. So there's no of the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs in Nevis. That's a federal ministry. There's no sub-ministry or anything in Nevis. I was even telling the authority we might need to set up a cannabis authority in Nevis to handle the Nevis businesses, because you're going to have inspectors. What are they going to do? Travel from St. Kitts every day to come to Nevis to check out the industry? No. So they're going to be, I foresee some changes along the line. But to be more direct with the question,
So cannabis is only decriminalized in St. Kitts. Cannabis is decriminalized federally, because if cannabis is decriminalized federally, it means that whatever is applicable in St. Kitts should be applicable in Nevis.
yeah.
So there shouldn't, if there is freedom for medical use on St. Kitts and that industry is being rolled out, there should be an arm. Well, okay, that is understood to some extent because it falls under the Ministry of Agriculture and St. Kitts. So we would presume that it's also under the Ministry of Agriculture's purview here on Nevis. So it would mean that it would be Mr. Evelyn and his team to really push that side of it.
Right.
But in relation to the other part now, how could you have cannabis broken down into two areas? And this is federal. You only have a federal ministry for the recreational and spiritual side, but there's no representation on Nevis for that side. That needs to be addressed. That seriously needs to be addressed.
Well, as you say, that part of it seems to have been quiet. And it has been quiet. Because
so why are we allowing that? Why are we allowing it to be quiet?
Well,
okay, so hold a second, Ira, because hear what I'm saying, right, Ian? And I think I kind of alluded to this when we had an opportunity to speak with the chair, because we would have had the chair, Honorable Gian Williams Knight, on the program here, where we discussed, and the same day when the Cannabis Authority opened, we interviewed her here on this platform. So we would have had some of these discussions, but it seems as if on the Nevis side of things, a lot of thought has not been put into much thought has not been put into the Navy side of things, and we, the Navisions, are just sitting back and allowing things to slide because, okay, I'm talking about the ecclesiastic faith side of things, okay, but even on the medical side, there is nothing we're hearing from Navis. I listened to On the Mark Wednesday, and Ras Ayer would have called in because Mr. Eric Evelyn was the host of the On the Mark show. And Ras Ayer would have called in to ask the same thing that you're talking about in terms of if Navis doesn't have the autonomy to deal with the cannabis issue and so on. And the response from Mr. Evelyn was that it's a federal thing and they're just waiting and watching and following the lead. So that's very eerie when we are talking about. So I don't understand why the Navisions and those who are whether users or just empaths and who believe that cannabis should be free and so on is just sitting back and not demanding that these people who we are paying do their job, because that is a part of what they're being paid for. If it is placed under their ministry, it means that it is a part of, it has now become a part of their responsibility, and we the taxpayers are paying them to do that. And if they're not delivering, then they're not doing their job.
Quite right. But it is something that I have always been concerned about. I've raised the issue at board meeting. And you're right, and we have already said it's a federal thing, and what is law in federal is law in Nevis, is law in Sinkers. There are certain things that Nevis would have to determine how they would handle certain aspects of it. But as Evelyn said, they're waiting to see what is what. But I think the wait is over now. It would have been launched. There are issues, there are questions. Divisions want the opportunity to know if I want a piece of land from government land, where can I get it available? So it needs to be that conversation. Hopefully we will be able to have that level of meeting with we as in Rastafari, the organization of Rastafari. We'll be able to have that meeting with Evelyn. So it is not that it is sliding, because when the OIU deals with a matter, it is dealt with on behalf of Sinkits and Nevis. Because we have been asking that question, and we have been ready in our Rastafari groups, both in Sinkits and in Nevis, to be able to
Right.
take
Yeah.
advantage of getting these
Aye,
privileges.
aye,
Uh,
aye.
uh,
These things are kind of aware because, okay, let me show you what I'm seeing here, right? This is one of the problems that we have. First up, we are seeing some. I find it discriminatory when you are going to categorize. Well, okay, let me not use categorize yet. You're going to recognize Rastafari as a religious body or group, the whole body as a religion, as a religious organization, as a recognized group, like you do with Christians, like you do with Muslims, like you do with other groupings. However, within those different groupings, you have different denominations, and you also have people who are not a part of any of those denominations but represents the faith. part of the problem that we are seeing with how things have been structured where Rastafari is concerned, there is that discriminatory factor where it's like you're saying, yeah, we recognize your religion, but we only recognize you if you fit under a group or under an organization. So you can only benefit if you so a Rasta. I am a Rasta, and let's say I am not a part of any organization. I am forced to, based on how this regulation is being structured, to become a member of an organization to benefit. I find that is discriminatory and it is unfair. And I bring that point up because you just mentioned that when ORU speaks, it it speaks for the Simkits and Nevis. And I was making the point to, I think it was Chaucer and Sankofa when we had a discussion the last time. The reality is, if there are 1,000 Rastafari, I'm just using a number, right? Just to make an example. If there are 1,000 Rastafari and Sin Kitts and Nevis within the various different organizations of Rastafari, there may be only 200 who are members of organizations. So if with what is being said, then that 800 other Rastafari is now forced to be a part of a group if they need to benefit from some of what is and should be available to them just because they're Rastafari. So that in itself is the issue, and I don't know if that is what OU and the other group challenged, so that Rastafari could be recognized as a religion or religious organization, but and that is the realm, because to me that is the realm that they are giving Rastafari the credence under spiritual or religious movement. For some Rasta, I know you would know that there is the view that Rastafari is more a cultural movement with a spiritual nucleus, versus a quote unquote religious or spiritual organization. We can be defined as a religion because we have the basic tenets of a religion, but is Rastafari a religion? So these are some of the little issues that I think also would we have to also address as we seek to challenge what we want, from this whole cannabis issue.
You know, Yasan. Um, the there's some of these things that shouldn't have even been discussing at stage. We should have gone past the stage because we would have had the opportunity. And as I say, we dropped the ball as Rastafari. And I would be challenged, but I would say it because I have been one day trying to organize ourselves so we can approach Babylon. So people want the benefits of when you organize yourself, you get a better listening ear. And when you organize yourself and you come as a one voice, you have more bargaining strength. The ones and ones want to benefit from, but then at the end of the day, I want to stand alone. So there are benefits of standing alone, but there are also benefits of oneness. Now, I don't think it's discriminatory because there are many benefits for Rastafari, individual Rastafari, within that whole construct, within those laws. Just like as it is now, not that I am pleased with it, because just like how it's a Rastafari, an adult Rastafari would apply register or whatever, or get a license to plant the trees in the yard, right? It didn't say whether you're part of a group or not. No, the sac and you enjoy your sacrament. That is your sacrament. Individual members of the group also have that benefit of enjoying the sacrament of being able to plant their trees in the yard, just like all Rasta, right? Now, Rastafari would have made a plea to government we would have fought government on certain grounds. One of the things we fought, the grounds that we fought government under, was as an order, a spiritual order. Now, it also says spiritual, is a religious, is a faith based, it is as wide as it can be. There should be no contention that we can't find a category in there that Rastafari is represented under. Because there's no doubt Rastafari is religious. Rastafari use the Bible like day to day. There's a deity, there's a figurehead, so there's a strong religious concept to Rastafari. Spirituality basically covers everything. It covers cultural, it covers religious, it covers political. So basically, for me, Rastafari is spiritual, and that will encompass everything. It is to you. It is to you how much of that religious what did I do? What? It is to you how much of that religious aspect you want to incorporate in your practice. So there are advantages. Hold on, let me explain, because as I say, there was a group, there was a collective reasoning, right? Now there's some things in what Rastafari argued about, and in terms of um, reparatory justice, we are saying that for all these years you have wronged Rastafari. Now you have to give Rastafari the opportunity to gain something from the industry. No, they can go around. Every Rasta could have the opportunity to get a license to cultivate cannabis, Every single Rastafari in this country. And they will get their license free. You don't have to be a part of an organization. But the organization would have the opportunity to get a free license. We might get the opportunity to have a combination of license. Now, I understand your concern, because another man would say, well, me not Rastafari, but I have been growing ganja. I would have paid $100,000 already for this thing. How come the Rasta man them a get out of this and I can't get? You understand? Now, Rastafari didn't make the law. We didn't make the law. What we did was recognize the weakness of the law, and we created that opportunity for any Rastafari who was not a part of an organization to be able to get some benefits. We even tried to set up a cooperative where you don't. Again, it speaks of a collective, because if you're part of a collective, you would be able to either split the cost of the fee, or you're getting it free from government. If you go as an individual, there are a lot of benefits there as well. You can have waivers from application fees. You could even have concessions. All of these are spelled out. So there is a level, and again, sorry I didn't have the Freedom of Conscience and Rastafari Recognition Rights Act. You know, but one of the things Rastafari was recognized, and that as a churchical order. Now everybody could say um, that is a choice whether you want to be a part of a church or not, and that is really a choice. You know, but as I say, I think there are benefits that comes, and the advantages that comes with coming together as a collective. The act in itself, and that is what legalization is about, unfortunately. But I still think we can make a different approach. Um, and most of the regions, most of the islands in the region are following the same blueprint. Antigua was bold and kind of stepped out of line. But there are a lot of things that we have to do here that they still have to do in Antigua too. The man have to got the card and thing too, you know. The man have to register and all them kind of thing. No, no. While I'm on that, our constitution is law of the land. And it says that we have the right. It also said that what happened out there in them conventions shouldn't override I rights. You check? And governments are putting this in front. They're telling you straight up. No government done go against the International Narcotics Council. What do you think all of these licenses and all these registration? Because data has to be collected. Data has to be collected and supplied to the International Narcotics Council, just like on every other what they call drug and all these different things. We supply data, you know, and this and they will tell you straight up, this is what is happening in all the regions. Because one of the things that, you know, and I don't really like to say too much on the ear, really. One of the little drawbacks with our court case, with Sankofa's court case, is that the judge recognized that the Drug Act was unconstitutional. So he told them, you need to fix the Drug Act and bring it in line with the Constitution. Because your present Drug Act doesn't allow any possession. And the Constitution says Rastafari should have it. And you should be able to have it with your privacy. But the judgment of the judge did a few things. He says, first and foremost, you must put the health of the children as a priority and the vulnerable. You notice when it comes to children and so-called vulnerable people, they don't budge. The judge also, and this is where it softens it, because the judge also gave the assembly, the National Assembly, the cabinet, the parliament, the government, give them the authority to determine amounts, legislation, regulations, quantities for religious, for medicinal research purposes. He also said to them that you must be in collaboration, you must discuss with the stakeholders, especially Rastafari, when it comes to how I do a thing. So, as even though they might have been given the authority to come up with that, it must be satisfactory to I still. And what they have done is not satisfactory to Rastafari. And so Rastafari has always stood in the fullness, and we have expressed to them in the past and of recent that there are things there, and Brother Sankofa was very outspoken last night and told them straight up, you have to fix these things. There's too much disparity. The gap is too wide. The benefits are not enough. The restrictions are too high for Rastafari in general, not for Rastafari groups. And so Sankofa warned and Rastafari warned, if these things are not put in place, then there's a possibility that we're gonna have to take you back under the what they call it, under the big clock. You know, because the judge, I don't think the judgment was respected in its fullness. There were many things put in place that could aid I going forward. Um, and I think at present, there are benefits out there for the single Rasta man, you know, because a cooperative structure will still allow you to get, if you're a cultivator, you could get a cultivator's license. But if you ain't got a manufacturer license, there's a cooperative there. Whether you sell your herb, or you work your herb on concession, or you produce your herb and then you get your commission. What we try to set up in ORU is a formality that keeps it legal, but give ones and ones the opportunity to benefit as well. You know,
So,
because
Irai.
uh huh.
Yes. Yeah. So, as I've been saying all the time, with all this registering and everything, is like this is a data. It also enforces this is like a data collection. That's why I asked the chair. Then the chair asked me, well, why would you think that they're collecting data? Well, of course, it's data collecting. For the moment, you have to register, is like, so you're forced to go have an account where how much of this is that, how much of this. Of course, it's data. And the next thing is who will make the final decision who get a license, since everyone will be vetted. Who will make that final decision who get a license, who don't get a license?
Um, I I believe there gonna be limits on license. I foresee a
But
lot
who,
of
who will make
cultivation.
decision? But who will make the
The authority,
decision? Who will vet?
the
The
authority,
authority?
the authority would decide who gets the license.
So the
Um,
board is the board. The board do that then. The board.
no, well, you see, there's a board. There's a board of
Uh-huh.
directors that would
Yes.
have gone through that would have um, gone through the regulations and fees and so on and so on. But they set just like they set up an authority. Authority is the operative arm. They handle the day-to-day runnings of the
Yes.
industry. The CEO is head of the authority, right?
Yes.
CEO, and then you have inspectors.
So the
You have
office, the
you
office
have
gonna make that decision. Whereas the CEO, any one member, a group gonna come together, collective, and make a decision doing this vetting, a group or one person. The minister
it,
involved, is the
it, it
minister
would not
involved in any of this? Anyone from the
it
Department of
wouldn't be
Agriculture involved
it,
in all this?
it wouldn't be a one person. If you're not a part of the authority, I think
Yes.
it's only if you're part of cabinet, the ministry or cabinet that you might have a say. But just like a lot of other things, um, the cabinet have to approve a lot of things in this cannabis industry. So basically, you would apply through the authority, and you will get your response through the authority. But how far up the ladder for approval, I don't know. But I would assume the ministry has a say.
So
Now,
so you say
there
gonna be a
are there
limited.
are
You mentioned gonna be you think gonna be a limited amount of license, right? That's what you mentioned.
yeah. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have um. I don't know. I have no idea how many licenses they plan to give out. That has not been discussed because there's a criteria as to how you qualify to get a license. The different things that you have to do. Now, for instance, a
So the criteria is
cultivator
available.
license. Now, it's available when the application form would have all that information. When you
Yeah, I'm
go
trying to
to
get
the
an
cannabis,
application form to go to this thing. That's why I'm
well,
trying
you'll
to
have.
receive an application.
I don't think it's online right now. I don't think the website is set up yet. So you physically will
Yes.
have to go to the authority and get an application form. It would tell you all that you need to do, all that you need to have in place. It will tell you about your restrictions, the recommendations. We talk about security. Your property must be secured, cameras and them kind of thing. There's a tracking system um
Tracking system
where
for
the
what?
track for the
Track
cannabis,
what?
the cannabis plants, to track your plants from seed to sale. These are all part of the regulations
You
in
mean
the
bookkeeping?
industry.
Bookkeeping. You mean bookkeeping? You're keeping bookkeeping.
Not just
The
for you,
records.
but your records must
Yes.
be available for inspection. And if you sow 100 seeds, let's say let's use seed. You sow 100 seeds and 90 of them germinated. What the regime is asking you to do is to record that. And then if at 2 weeks old you lose 10 seedlings, that has to be recorded.
Of course, that's understandable. Yes,
Right,
that's regular
right
good
through
agricultural
to
practices.
right through to maturity stage. When you
Yes.
harvest, you record your wet weight and so on, and then you record what you come out with. So it's a tracking system where, let's suppose, I mean, and we all see the reasoning for that, eh? You can't you hard for you to get something to sell under the table when everything is being recorded. When you expect it to have 50
You
pounds of pure ganja.
you record you record the wet weight.
I think I think he asks for them kind of things, you know.
So how they
Yeah,
gonna do
but
that? Take
if
off
it
this
goes,
stem. So, Lord of mercy.
I
The people
that's
understand this.
I mean,
All right.
Eh?
You see, Banky,
Eh?
this is
You
what
understand this?
we're gonna see
this is one of
changes
the things that I've
along the
been
way.
telling you guys.
Because this
This is one
stuff
of the
is
things I've been
ego.
telling
So
you
how
guys.
the,
This industry, the medical cannabis industry, is a very regulated industry. Even down to if you kill a plant, you have to go document that you kill the plant and how you
me, me,
where you
me not
destroyed it,
what
where
they
you
think
took it,
thing.
and all of
Them
that. So
them mind
everything
thing.
has to be. No, I'm just showing you
Yeah,
how regulated it is going to be. And so a lot of the locals too, if you're not able to meet up with these regulations, that is why sometimes you're not even going to be a part of that industry. That is why I'm saying that one, we need to be zoomed in for the average individual, really should be zoomed in on the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs. And that is the area that is being pushed in a corner. And that's what I'm saying. We need to agitate that we need to hear from Mr. Jeffrey Hanley and his ministry. And the other part about, I mean, you're going to have to, you came in a bit late, but we're going to have to get, so we could further this discussion. Maybe we could organize a special topics with maybe you and Sankofa, and we could really trash out and, bring out some more information. I think, too, that the public need to know a lot more of what the Rastafari community and Rastafari would have been doing behind the scenes, because even as when Troshai was on with us Tuesday, I pointed out, because he was speaking about the document that you guys would have presented to the government before they even went through the decriminalization and so on, to point out some of the things that Rastafari would have suggested or recommended and so on, and they might not have paid attention to and ignored and so on. But what I'm saying is, Rastafari now need to have a channel or some way of presenting their side of the story, because in a lot of cases we don't see these things and we don't know. So then it would appear that
Yeah,
maybe
son. Yeah,
Rastafari wasn't
son.
doing anything behind the scenes.
Rastafari, I can't. I beg to differ. Listen, it has been about 15 years that we have been marching through the streets of St. Kitts Nevis, and you see the crowd. You know how much consultations we would have organized around St. Kitts Nevis, Nevis in particular, and you see the turnout. And,
Yeah, but
and I
all right,
mean,
let's be
let
realistic,
me
all
finish.
right.
ORU,
Let's be real.
yes, son. ORU have created the opportunity for every Rastafari to have a voice. And if you
Yes,
if
I
you
hear
don't
that.
want to have the voice of a collective, then it is your responsibility to make your personal voice be heard. No, I
No, no, no,
can't
no,
be I
no.
can't be responsible.
Hold on. What I was saying, what I was referring to, I meant the document itself, make it public, so to speak, then, so that the public could see that Rastafari was making
How
these
much more public
presentations. That's what I
can
was
we
talking
make?
about.
How much more public
A
can we
lot,
make it? Yes, son. People have not been listening. That document was probably
yeah,
done about 2015. It has been posted. it has been given to every single member of every government in St. Kitts Nevis. It is available for every Rastafari. Wherever we talk
Yeah,
about that document. Rastafari has not
Banky,
been
you see it?
listening. Rastafari has
Banky,
not
have
been
you
no,
seen
no,
it?
listening.
no, I never
The
seen it.
Rastafari
I never
published on
seen it.
paper.
And plus, it's something that's now because something is
I
there
have
doesn't mean
read
you
on
can't
this
keep
paper.
educated over and over to keep always educating the public to be bring awareness to these things. You see what I mean? But
But
I
you know,
know there are a lot of marches
and
been
we have
taking place
spoken
and
about
stuff like
this.
that.
Banky, we've spoken about this
But
document and your programming.
yes,
This
I
has
know
been the
that. I know that. But
document
I'm saying I never. But I'm
presented
saying I don't have a copy.
as a
I know that.
collective.
But I say yes, but I never had a copy in my hand personally. That's what I mean. Yes.
And
So
that document is the voice of the I and them, because every single meeting discussion we have had within Rastafari has been taken into account. Words from elders. You know, I mean, I can't believe they ain't familiar with that document. That document
No.
speaks to
not me.
even the
Hold on.
percentage.
All right. I am familiar with it. It's not that I'm not familiar. What I'm saying is, I'm just talking
Oh,
about
sorry.
Rastafari being able
General
to
public.
put out the information to the public. That's what I'm not. So it wasn't me personal. I wasn't trying to get it personal. I'm just trying to say that okay, a lot of things that are happening right now with the cannabis movement and so on. People might be saying, "Oh well, how come Rastafari never did this or Rastafari never did that?" But it is documented in that document. However, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we need a platform that we can put it out. Maybe put it out on Facebook, put it out somewhere so that it is seen in the public more like that. That's what I'm talking about. We are
Yeah,
gonna wrap up in a bit,
I
but I want
totally
to ask
agree with
you.
you.
Yes,
Yes, I want
that's
to
the whole
ask
part.
you one more question before we wrap up. And this is and we could make a wrap up in answering the final question too. With what we are seeing here, the fact that you have laws being placed, being outlaid and gazetted, yet the government has not get their acts together in terms of their regulations. Even though we're talking about these licenses and so on, at present, one can go and get a license. Is there a push from anybody in the cannabis authority or the body pushing for a moratorium police and for them to tell the law enforcement officers to ease up on the arrest where cannabis is concerned, because you don't have your regulations in place, because it is unfair for you pulling up people trees and arresting when I can't go and get a license for the 5 trees and I can't go and get a license for the 56 grams because you don't have your things in order yet. That is unfair. So is there a push for a moratorium and for them to go and educate and inform their law enforcement officials, because they can do that?
It has been a push from the very start. One of the things that we agitated for from day one, that in the meantime Babylon need to back off and respect the fact that you're now saying to the people,
Somebody have on a
hey, we're
radio,
gonna be
a phone, somebody phone on echo. There's an echo coming back.
I haven't done anything different.
Yeah, there's something now echoing, like a device on. There's an echo.
Maybe it's because you ain't got your headphone.
Okay, let me find him a
That's
headphone. Maybe was it happening?
I'm hearing an echo myself.
Go ahead.
Yeah, serious. Okay, where was I?
Same thing in the headphone. So some device, check out device, make sure no volume up somewhere. But go ahead, Ari.
Yeah, we were talking about the moratorium. You were
Oh yeah,
saying
I was
that
saying that we've started. it was a push from day one. We really been fighting for it. We say that in the meantime, Babylon have to ease off of people and stop harassing them. Because you're telling people, hey, we are using this thing now for its good use. But you're being hypocritical and saying I'm gonna lock you up because you're doing something bad. No, I have a situation and I can't say much about it right now because it is active. But I am not sure if we are being arrested for her. But I know Babylon have been taking up plans. That is wrong. And that has to stop. And I would urge anybody who had that incident go and seek Taco Liar. Because just like the Sankofa case, if you ain't get your act together, that is your problem. In the meantime, I am always protected under my constitution. So until you get your act together for how much and who this, you know how
Exactly.
long I have registered, you know how long I have registered the ORU, you know how long I have registered One Love, you know how long we have registered our place of worship, our place of gathering, you know how long I have been registered as one of the spiritual leaders of the organization. Babylon have to be careful what they're doing. So people, we have to be able to learn to stand up. What Babylon is doing, interfering with people, is wrong. Because even the 5-3 thing, right? Even the 5-3. 5-3 is supposed to be for person, for adult, not a household. Because if you now have to go, see how crazy it is. If you now have to go and I'm still remembering that we're finishing up. If you now have to go and register to plant 5 trees, then you register for your 5 trees. Everybody have to register for their 5 trees. So it is only obvious that that is another flaw in the it can't be for household, has to be for adult person. But Yason, I totally agree with you. It's the time when I and I as Rastafari have to make consolidated move. We have made many steps in the past. This is a time when we have to bind ourselves together and hit Babylon hard. Because regardless, and I would be, for me, I would say, we can't say we haven't had an ease. So there are some things good. But as to what Rastafari is Rastafari is sorry, I can't find the word now. It's entitled to. That's what I want. What Rastafari has the right to. What Babylon has given us is far from that. And so we don't have to defend Babylon. We stand for our rights. Rastafari defend the rights of all. We continue to stand for the people. We continue to stand for and agitate for freedom of the herb. And if there's a legislative industry that is going to make money, I think the common man, the Rasta man, the local man should be first opportunity. We should be priority. We need to continue the conversation. Definitely next time I would have some
Yes,
some documents. But please
we will have
listen
to
out to
organize.
the next town hall meeting. That's a good place to
All
raise
right.
all of these issues. You know, that's where the
Well,
decisions and the decision makers are.
well, we're gonna organize, and we're gonna reach out to you again, and probably Sankofa, and so we could
So,
have,
all right.
at least a good 2 hours to address
On the
this.
Navy's end, when the meeting come on the Navy's end, are the member of the Minister of Navy is guided to be a part of this meeting? Anyone for the Agriculture Department or anything like that?
Based on what
Can
we
you
had
never
in
hear the minister
Sydney,
speak on cannabis really?
well, you probably need a different town hall,
Yes.
or you need to include that on the agenda of the town hall. But basically, what the town hall was to explain to one how the industry is going to roll out and so on. Just
Okay.
before I go, I want us to put some energy behind the ecclesiastic affairs, as you mentioned. ORU is there.
Yes, sir.
We need the support because that is one of the first things that has been set up for INA, you know. How many Rasta Ghana they go register?
In?
Rastafari,
They don't have a meeting yet.
Nothing in place. Nothing in place yet. Nothing in place yet, and that's what I'm saying. So you guys now need to really make some move to that office and try to find out on there, and then you could make your agitation. That might be the first step to go and make the attempt of getting the license or getting the license for the 56 gram or getting the license for the 5 trees, and then see what's happening there, and then we could see what we need to do. But I think Banky would have made an attempt already, and
yes, son.
at this point, there's
son.
nothing in place.
Yes, son. I would have registered my organization with the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs. Even if I was not registered, as a Rastafari, you have the authority for your fight. Whether Ecclesiastic Affairs ready or them not ready.
Hey, all right.
Listen,
All right.
it is what has been,
and that is guaranteed.
But Banky, you're Rastafari.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
Rastafari, and the Constitution says, as a Rastafari, you have the authority to have a certain amount. It tell the
Yeah, but then
government
they say you need a license to have 5 trees, or 6 trees too, and to have 56 grams to a license. To all these licenses for. So the Constitution, so the license is above the Constitution. Which
No,
is
you
it?
see, the
This is the
judge-
conflict. This is the back and forth.
Banky, the judge gave
Yes.
the assembly, the judge gave the government the authority to determine
Mhm.
the amounts, the weights, the quantities, the legislation for both religious and medicinal use of cannabis. The judge gave them the authority, but the judge also told them that they must collaborate with groups like Rastafari to determine the amounts. So what we are saying is that the amounts are not official.
Mhm.
So we have grounds to say that. But in the meantime, you are allowed. Your constitution doesn't wait for no drug act to be rectified. You know, you have your constitutional rights all along, and your constitution says you must be allowed some amount of cannabis for your personal use and your religious use. So even without them getting the license ready, you are protected. We just need to stand up and, just like I say, take them to court. I bet you see they will never want the case to go through. I mean, I can't win nobody in case for taking up the 5 trees with or without a license. Constitution
Well,
say you're allowed to have it. That's why it's a proper war.
you know,
There was no
all
drug.
right.
There was no.
Yes, so that's what we need. That's what we need this show to
That's
continue going over and over
I
to
am
keep educating
I
the
am
general
loving
public, because
I am loving the way we're gonna end the show, because I'm sure people are going to be looking forward to hear the part 2. So we're definitely gonna
yes.
have to come back for the part
I'll be
2
back with that,
of this
you know.
discussion. Yeah, and so we really I want to give thanks to you, Brother IRI, for taking the time out and being a part of this discussion this evening. You know, it was a very important time, and especially to get the feedback from the meeting last night, because I really wanted to hear some of what happened there. Give thanks for giving us that opportunity. And like I said, we will, keep the platform open for you to come back and speak about ORU and CRO, and also for us to follow up on, the cannabis issues in the Federation. And so thank you. We're going to wrap up this edition of Everything Agriculture until we meet again next week, Tuesday. So, people, one love, enough love, guidance and detection from us here on Real Entertainment Network. Enough love. Banky?
Yes, I.
Rastafari.
Well, just want to thank Ira too, and giving his perspective and feedback. Definitely enjoy the conversation and looking forward for round 2 where we continue discussion on cannabis.
Aye.
Is Ira?
Yes, Yes, well, I'll just wait for him to come in with the music, Yeah, but it was a real, blessed discussion. It's always a pleasure having you, and we really need to do this some more, and especially now your CRO Chi, and so we got to do some work for Rastafari. We really need to do a lot more, to rebuild Rastafari and St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the region. And I'm still here to give support in any way, shape, or form. And so, feel free anytime to reach out and touch base,
Yeah, man, one love.
So Ira and the Real Entertainment Network team, yeah, man, give thanks. It was a pleasure.
Guide when they make your son around call Ira.
Okay, yeah. So yes, one love everybody, and so next week Tuesday we're gonna come back with another edition of the topics. Giving you an idea of what's going on in and around the world. Don't limit ourselves to St. Kitts and Nevis topics. We jump on, most of what's going on around the region, what's going on around the world. On Fridays, it's Everything Agriculture here on the Real Entertainment Network platform. We did have an extended version this evening because as I would have, gotten a little bit late, and we really were looking forward to hearing from him. And I'm sure those of you who stuck and stayed with us, would have gleaned and gained a lot from the discussions and the information that was shared and the exchange that was shared. So all we ask you to do is, continue to support the Real Entertainment Network. Check out our YouTube platform, subscribe, like, share, and, let your friends know that, it's all about the use faith and dropping these videos after 30 days. So it's best for you to log in with us on the YouTube platform. Just look for Real Entertainment Network on YouTube and be sure to subscribe. So everybody who is logged on at this point, just go on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and we do respond to the comments, and we do appreciate your time, and you could have been doing anything on a Friday evening, but you choose to log in and be a part of our discussions. So people, just waiting for our technician to log us out. So I guess I'll get some music in the background to update me when he's ready to pop off. In the meantime, just want to remind you that you can. All right. So love people, guidance, protection. Educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's Everything Agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you